This is a library, though perhaps you'd be more familiar with it like this. Basically, a library is an information store, though the information can be recorded in many different ways. Systems you've just seen are simply ways of storing words, whether it's an Agatha Christie thriller, or statistical information on world metal production, or an 1883 copy of the Times. But that's not really all there is to it. You see, storing it's one thing, but what happens when you actually want to use it? The mark of a good library service, like this one, is in its organisation and the way in which it makes sure that the people who use it can find what they want quickly and easily. When you've got a city the size of Sheffield, that's quite a problem. For a start, there's a population of over 500,000. Some of that population work in Sheffield's internationally renowned steel industry and some of the other quality industries which have developed in recent years. A population of that size needs schools and houses, flats and maisonettes. There's the university and the polytechnic. There'll be old people, young people, school children, housewives, industrial workers, office workers, and so on. You see, in any population this size, the library service will have an extraordinary variety of needs to cater for, as well as some particular problems caused by Sheffield's unique geography. To show the variety of demand on the library service and how it meets that demand, we talked about the city libraries with a family living in Sheffield, Roger and Rita Thornhill, their children, Debbie and Darryl, and Rita's mother.
I'll see you tonight.
All right.
My husband often drops me off at Branch Library on his way to work when he's on afternoon shift. But I could just as well walk since it isn't far. Hello. Hello. Brought my books back. These slides are ever so good.
Must be, yeah.
I didn't know they did these slide things until a neighbour of mine said she used them. They're ever so good. We've decided we're going to Jersey this year. Roger weren't right interested until I took these slides home. After he'd been through a bit of showing them all, he were dead keen. Made folks think it were his idea. Thank you.
Each branch library keeps a stock of the most popular books in the major fiction and non-fiction ranges for all ages. So Mrs. Thornhill has a good choice of suitable books for herself and her husband.
I always have to get a couple of history things for Roger. And he's dead nuts on spy thrillers. I think they're only two things he ever reads.
It's our job as librarians to reflect the needs of each local community. But obviously, even the largest branch library stocks only a fraction of all the books that are published. So both the librarian and the public need a way of knowing what's available throughout the city. This catalogue gives a complete listing of all books available in the library system, both in alphabetical author order and in subject sequence. As well as showing details of author and title, each entry tells you at a glance the location where the book is kept.
Excuse me, can you help me? I want this Audrey Ellis Home Guide to Food Freezing, please.
Oh, yes. Well, we haven't got that one in the library, but if you'd like to fill in a reserve card, we can get it for you.
Oh, yes, please.
I'll just get you one.
Yeah.
If you'd just like to fill in this card, and the details of the book on this side, and then on the other side, if you fill in your name and address, and then when the book comes in, we'll be able to send it to you.
Oh, thank you. Thing is, if I'm going shopping, I can get it all done at the same time as changing my books. Sometimes I take books back on wait at shops, and choose new ones on way back home. That way I don't have to carry them far, you see.
Branch libraries can help in many other ways. Amongst the other services available to borrowers are these, the large print books. These are produced in a large range of popular titles, which are being added to all the time. If you have poor vision, you can read these easily. If you read Urdu or Polish, not to mention French, Italian and German, you'd find that the library has books in all these languages, and many others. They're part of the various foreign language collections housed at most branch libraries around the city. There are Polish, Italian, Pakistani communities where the older generation has not learned to read English fluently yet, and these books provide a contact with a language they understand. All these facilities are available free of charge at the 30-odd branch libraries which the service maintains around the city. They can cater for most of their borrowers' needs, but for any specialised or unusual requests, they can call on the resources of the Central Library in Surrey Street. This is where Mrs. Thornhill's request has gone.
This system stores details of all books on loan. We only need to feed the number of the book that Mrs. Thornhill wants into the trapping store, and it's automatically stopped when it's returned to the library. When books are returned by borrowers in the ordinary way, a single stroke of the light pen simply records that the book has come back and removes it from the record. When a reserved book is returned, the trapping store recognizes it from our number, and this is what happens.
When a book is not available from the City Library's own shelves, the resources of libraries outside Sheffield can be called on. Obviously, this saves each library having a copy of rarely used books when one will do between them. Each day, this telex prints out a list of books requested by other libraries.
We answer the telex, giving details of each requested item that we can supply. Daily van services connect us with the Yorkshire and Humberside Joint Libraries Service at Wakefield and with the British Libraries Lending Division at Boston Spa. Most of the requests we make to the network are answered by return. We find that these are very often specialised items, like articles in specialist periodicals, pamphlets, technical manuals, microfilms, and so on, rather than just books, as you might expect.
But that isn't quite the whole story, because these stocks don't stand still. Every month, every week, every day, more and more books are published, and the library has to keep pace with them. These are just some of today's delivery. And somehow, the library has to decide which books they're going to buy.
That sounds a good idea. That's the right way to a good shop.
This is a book selection meeting. A team of librarians meets once a week to choose from books supplied on approval by local booksellers. Obviously, the library has to be sure that the books they buy are the ones that are going to be well used. But they do have to keep the library up to date with more specialised ones as well.
Like most public libraries, Sheffield uses the Dewey Decimal Classification System. We catalogue and classify all non-fiction books added to stock to allow easy access to the information that's in them. The careful use of these schedules and the painstaking cataloguing of books helps us to locate requests like the one made by Mrs. Thornhill very quickly and efficiently.